Well, Dale, you're muted there, so I'll go ahead and introduce everybody. Say welcome to COS Today tonight with my muted
Yeah,
host, Dale
I
Parrish.
thought that I thought it would automatically unmute us, but
Oh,
did
now
did
come
you
on, you know there's
unmute
no.
yourself, or did it automatically
No,
unmute?
I unmuted myself. I don't trust in automatics.
Well,
It's
oh
why
well,
I
okay.
still it's why I still drive a stick car.
Do you really?
No, I haven't had
No.
one in years.
Okay, well that's another little thing we'll have to play with and work it out. So
It's always fun to come on with a little bit of a gaff. That's all okay.
we're working this out, folks. It's only taken a few months. That's all, but we'll get it done anyway. Well, folks, my name's Dale Parrish, and along with Ken Kashuba, co-host, and we want to welcome you to our broadcast this evening. This is COS Today. We're saving the country with Convention Estates. That's what we're very hard at work trying to do here. So, saving the country with Convention Estates. Let's let Maringo Mike remind everybody about how to tap into that QR code, and
Okay.
let's see what Maringo Mike's got to say.
The program, please be sure and hit the like and subscribe buttons along with the notifications bell so you'll always know when we go live. We appreciate your support and hope you'll join us on our mission to use the Constitution to save the Constitution. Now, back to the program.
Yeah, I'll tell you that Maringo Mike, he's always there for us.
Yeah, he never comes on muted, does he?
No, he doesn't. Well, let's get right into our first segment here, and this is the segment we call the In Focus segment that we've had a great deal of success with, a lot of interest. This is where we bring on 2 or 3 guests, generally COS Convention Estates people in other areas, to just chat a bit about what's caught our interest here recently. In other words, what has been our individual focus? And I mean, there's not much going on, Ken. I know it's hard to find something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm being facetious there, of course. There's so much going on; it's hard to keep track of everything. So anyway, let's get started here, and let's start bringing our guests on for this evening. This young lady, Debbie Stewart, has Debbie. You're almost a weekly guest here, aren't you?
I just can't stay away.
She just can't. I'll tell you, she's always there for us. So I'm glad to have you on this evening.
Good to be
Now,
here.
here is a young lady that has been a COS supporter here in Indiana for many years. And Ken, you remember seeing her at the summit last summer or last September, if you remember.
Yeah. Yes.
And hadn't seen you, Melba Kaiser, hadn't seen you in so long. It was so good to see you.
Yep.
So
Thank you.
glad you could join us here tonight.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you invited me.
Melba's got some interesting insights for us tonight. So I think everybody's going to enjoy listening to Melba. And let's bring on Mr. Cordell Rich, Veterans Coalition Director in the state of Idaho. So,
Thanks, Bill.
Is it warming up out in Idaho, Cordell?
Yeah, it was 85, I think, yesterday.
Whoa.
So I love it. I'm born and raised in Wyoming, and this is about as hot as it gets in Wyoming. So
Really? 85. Wow.
85. So I'm loving it.
That's great. That's great. That's great. All right. Well, Cordell, I'm going to let you lead off here. And so you want to tell us what's caught your interest here recently?
Several things, but of course, like most people, the war in Iran and what's going on over there is a big hot button for me.
Sure.
And specifically, I find it interesting how divided our country is over this right now. In exactly the opposite way we were divided over it just several years ago. It's purely become a partisan issue when it certainly shouldn't be.
Yeah. I think, I think our experience in Iraq, I think, has put everybody on alert with regard to regime changes and boots on the ground and all types of things like that.
The impetus is the same. The war in Iraq stems from the war in actually the war in Iran. I've heard people say that Trump campaigned on the promise of no new wars, and this isn't a new war. This is, when I joined the military, I'm a vet, of course. Carter was president, and Iran was holding American hostages then. So this isn't a new conflict, and Iraq, it was Shia versus Sunni and all of that going on, and so it's an extension of that whole thing. And I understand the fear of boots on the ground for sure.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to require boots on the ground eventually here?
I have a hard time understanding what Trump's goals are here. I think I understand his geopolitical goals, but he said he wants to destroy their navy, destroy their ability for force projection with missiles, get rid of drones, and then what's the other one? Someone help me.
It was all the nuclear sites.
Yeah,
Wasn't it?
right. Destroy their nuclear capabilities. And I think we're probably 80-90% of the way there. I definitely do not want it to turn into the sort of destruction for the Iranian people that Gaza turned into for the Palestinians. I'd hate to see that.
Right.
And so it kind of depends on what his actual goals are there.
My fear is, and again, none of this can be collaborated because, I mean, how do you? For years we've had supposedly UN and other people that had gone in to confirm their activity with nuclear, but from what some of the things I've heard, that there's a very deeply buried nuclear area that they either moved some of their nuclear stuff to, and that our bunker bombs can't touch. If that's the case, then my concern there is that when you're talking about boots on the ground, we just might have to have some sort of boots on the ground. Whether it's one of those secret destinations that we have to have people actually go in and destroy it or find it. That's my one concern. And how do you confirm all that? I guess so.
I would think ideally the goal would be to have the Iranian people take over leadership of their own country. If we could do that and take it out of the mullah's hands, then we wouldn't necessarily have to completely destroy those sites. And hopefully, if we could get the closest thing we could to a democratically governed Iranian people, then it wouldn't surprise me that they would change their purpose from nuclear arms to just nuclear power. But I certainly understand the concern.
I agree with you, Cordell, and I heard it said one time here recently about someone that was talking about the concept of boots on the ground, and it was said that the Iranian people have got to be the boots on the ground.
Yeah,
they've got to play that role, but I have no idea. I understand. It's my understanding that there are so many different cults, different I don't know, whatever you want to call it, segments in the Iranian population, and I don't know what they are. I don't know which one's stronger, which ones are weaker. I have no idea how that's going to work out, but I do believe that that's got to be the answer, as ultimately.
I think of my service. A lot of you know I was in the Special Forces, and I went to Africa a number of times, and for a number of civil wars there that people really don't talk about or know about. And a lot of things in Africa boil down to whoever swings the machete is in charge. And right now the mullahs are in charge because they're willing to be absolutely as extremely violent as they need to stay in charge and to retain that power. And so we need to get to a tipping point where the Iranian people as a whole are a good people.
Yeah.
It's the very most extreme theological leaders there that are keeping down the Iranian people, willing to slaughter thousands at a time in order to maintain their control. But and that's just kind of my take on it.
Yeah.
I would hope we could avoid boots on the ground, because then the Iranian people kind of lose their incentive to rise up, if you want to say it that way, if we were there, and then it becomes a protracted thing for the American soldiers, and would be looked at as an occupation by many, and that becomes divisive.
Right, right. I hope we can avoid that. I do hope we can avoid that. I think it's very important that we avoid that. Did you see where they hung these 3 young Iranian young men? One was I think an Olympic athlete or something.
A wrestler.
Yeah, wrestling.
Wrestler.
Oh, how terrible! My goodness, my goodness. I think he was like 19 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
My.
It's a horrible thing, and I hate that it happened, but it will serve to inform a lot of people, because Iran has hung hundreds and hundreds of homosexuals, and hanging is very common there, but Western media doesn't get there and doesn't portray it very accurately. And so it's a tragedy for that young man and for the IOC and for his families. But it is an eye-opener for sure.
Cordell, I think you got another topic that you wanted to maybe talk about a bit. I'm gonna let Melba and Debbie go, and then if we have time, I'd like to come back to you. Okay.
That sounds great to do that.
All right, Melba.
Yes.
Now, folks, I want to tell you something about Melba that you should know. And Melba is from Cuba. And how old were you when you were brought to the States, Melba?
I was 8.5.
I'm sorry, what, 8.5?
8.5.
8.5, yeah. And I know Melba has told us stories for a long time now, while Melba's been part of the Convention of States group here in Indiana for some years. So we've heard a lot about, but that was why I originally wanted you to come on. I originally wanted you to talk about Cuba, but you told me you've lost all contact with family that you had there. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes. I had an aunt, one of my mother's sisters, who traveled back regularly. And what we would do as a family is we would put together a box of clothing or medication, money, but the money can be easily taken by the guards. So clothing, medication, blankets, food, whatever we could for our family. Then my aunt would come there every couple of years and visit the family, take some place to them, and then come back with a list of other things that they needed.
Yeah. So, but she was your last family contact there. Am I right?
Yes, it was. Now, we do have some distant relatives who recently arrived from Cuba.
Oh, okay.
Via, I believe it was Colombia. And so we're going to be getting in contact with them. They're currently in Miami.
Okay. All right. Good. Good. Well,
I have a question for you, Melba.
Yes.
Uh, I think that I've heard that some of the reason that President Trump went into Venezuela and as well into Iran is to affect stricter oil shortages or oil, a stricter sense of embargo on the Cuban islands
Mhm.
in order to hopefully help liberate the Cuban people. And I'm curious what your take on that would be.
I understand President Trump's purpose in doing that. I think that the current regime is going to count on Russia to try to help them out. In fact, I saw some reporting today that said that Russia was sending oil to Cuba to try to relieve that. What's going to happen is, if you look at the planet, that's basically what the regime always holds up as. We're doing okay, and we're not suffering. It's not that bad. But I have come from the southeastern part of the island, and those people have been suffering for decades. In fact, the last time that my aunt visited, she told me, and that was going back 5 years ago, she told me that at that time, you basically had daylight hours and electricity till about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And after that, you needed to use candles if you had them to be able to see. Cooking was very limited, so you had to cook a lot when you had some fuel to do so.
Mhm.
So I can't even imagine the condition that they're going through right now. But you have to remember, with Iran or with Venezuela, the Cuban people are not armed. And so putting up a resistance, from my viewpoint, is going to be extremely difficult because the Cuban regime is also pretty brutal. They have been for
Mhm.
quite a few decades.
Right, long time.
yeah. Yeah. All right. Melba, I know you had another topic you wanted to talk about that you're involved in. So you want to move on to that?
Sure. So what I'm basically focusing on these days is immigration. And the reason, for that, obviously, as an immigrant myself, it's a topic that's very important to me. It's especially important because I feel that legal immigration, since I was a legal immigrant and so was my family, is the way it should come to the United States. And what I saw in the Biden regime was pretty ridiculous. I think working on the commission, I volunteered to be part of the commission of citizens who wanted to hold our sheriff's department accountable, ICE accountable. So I'm working with a group of people to basically see that any deportations that are done in a legal manner, in an ethical and kind, I guess, that I would say manner. But I see Save America Act, and I can't believe that it is even something that has to be discussed, that our Congress people cannot determine that it should only be American citizens who have the right to vote, and that you need to show ID. I think fraud is rampant in our system, and apparently we don't have a Congress that is interested in pursuit of, in protecting the Constitution. And so that I believe so. So much Congress that they're not going to fix themselves. So we need an organization like COS to pass, because we need to take back, people need to take back control of the country.
Okay. All right. All right. Very good. Very good. Very good. Thank you very much. Debbie?
You know,
I'm
before,
sorry, I just want to say one other thing,
Okay.
and that is that immigration is one issue, whether you're on the left or you're on the right, as far as a Cuban person, unite you. Because what I heard from my relatives and Cuban friends is that they want the United States to intervene and to help get rid of the
They do. They want the United States to intervene. They want that. They want the United States to.
no matter what part of the political spectrum they come from, they want the United States to intervene and to help get rid of this regime.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Melba, we're still having a little bit of a slight drop off of your mic as you talk. I think we're going to move on probably to Debbie. If you want to go out and then come back in, we'll see if we can get you a little cleared up so you can communicate on some of the other issues we're talking about. Just try going out and coming back in. Yep.
Okay.
You know, Ken, I think we had this problem with another guest one time, and I think she may have two browsers going at the same time.
That could be, yeah. If you close out any additional browsers, go out and come back in. We'll see what.
Go out and come back in, Melba. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Debbie.
Yeah, so she mentioned the Save America Act, and I just wanted to kind of give a little update. I know it's probably a month ago or so I reported out. So we know that 85% of Americans want secure elections. So there's no question on, there's overwhelming 85%. So basically the two main things are you have to have proof of citizenship to register to vote, and then you have to have a government approved or issued ID in order to vote. So a lot of states are saying, hey, we don't want you to use your driver's license anymore because a lot of illegals are getting driver's licenses now and they don't have to show citizenship. So they're changing some things around, but those are the two main things. So it has to be a government approved ID to vote, whatever that would be. And so back in February, the House passed the Save America Act, 218 to 213. And then it's in the Senate now. And so they voted to, yes, let's bring it to the floor. And so far, we haven't taken a vote. We don't have a vote to get it passed. But they were asking John Thune, about the filibuster and how it works. And he made the comment that it makes it endless amendments, unlimited amendments, and unlimited debate, which is true depending on certain things. But that's not really true. And so he kind of stretch the truth some, and but what the whole reason behind that is a lot of the senators are doing raising money right now, and so if they were in a long-term debate, that would keep them from spending time actually raising money. Okay. Doing fundraising. And so they don't really want to do this talking filibuster because that means they have to be on the floor for endless hours. We know the filibuster has been around forever, but I think it was 1957. The longest person who ever talked was 25 years. You can debate for a very long time. So anyway, so on Friday, they took a poll, and out of the 100 senators, 16 of them were missing when it had to do with the Save America Act, which is really sad, which goes back to what Melba said around, we need people who are actually going to be there to do their job. That's why we voted for them. They're not doing it to lobby for some other country or some kind of entity that wants to sway them a certain way. And so they get some kickbacks on that. And they should be in there and they can do their fundraising on their own time, right? So, but then Senator Thune would have to actually enforce the Senate rules, which requires discipline and effort. And I'm not so sure he wants to do that either. So what was kind of cool and clever was John Houston, I believe his name is, from Ohio. He did a really clever thing. so the Democrats like, yeah, we want to pass the Save America Act, but I mean, we love the voter ID. We're all for it and everything, except for there's all these other things. So what he did is he said, hey, we need to make it easy to vote and hard to cheat. And so he went ahead and made the SAVE Act only the voter ID. He pared it down to one thing, which was voter ID, and the Dems still voted it down. So they totally got busted with that. So I thought that was really good.
Right. He asked for unanimous consent, right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And
And
put your money where your mouth is, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, we don't like this.
Right. So they said one thing, and then when they had the opportunity to actually follow through, they didn't. And so that really showed their colors. But I really feel like the Dems, they do not want to pass this because they know then that a lot of them are not going to get vote if they did cheat in the past, which I know we've been catching that in the last 8 to 12 years, but I think it goes way back further than that. We just were totally clueless. Then a lot of them are not going to get voted in. And so they know that. So they are going to try anything they can to stop this thing from being passed. Yeah. So what I did do is I looked at what are the states that actually have voter ID laws that are similar. And there are 11 of them. Indiana is one of them. Then there are 10 other states such as Arkansas, Georgia, Mississippi, North Carolina, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of them, like I said, they're not even allowing you to use your driver's license to go vote. So you're going to have to get some kind of government approved ID that says, yes, you are a citizen and yes, you can vote and you did register. And I know that even Florida has made it a felony crime for if you go to vote as a non-citizen. And they even included in there, if you said you were a citizen, if you claim to be a citizen or you didn't know you were a citizen, that's still not an excuse. You will have a felony on you.
See, I really think, the more I think about this, I really think the key is, if they can't get this passed, the key is the states. That the states can do a lot of this themselves, and just like Indiana, just like Florida.
They can, but in the same way that it can work for better security, it works for opposite. So like states like Washington and some other ones have actually loosened their voter ID laws.
I know.
So here you go again. Here's the blue states. They're going to take advantage of that in their own way, not to secure, I feel like, honesty. So that's the only problem.
Yeah. Two years ago, California passed a law. It's against the law to ask for ID when you vote. You can't even ask for, you can't ask anything. If somebody shows up and votes, they get to vote. You can't ask them, do you live in my district? You can't ask them anything. You can't even identify them by their name. If they come in and say, my name's John Philip Sousa, well, then you're allowed to vote. And it's against law to even try and identify them. So
right. I think that's why Trump is pushing this so hard. And true conservatives are pushing this because they know that those blue states will use it the other way to make it. I do know that California has put some new laws on the board, or they're working on them. Even in the last 2 years, a lot of states are changing things. There were some things that seemed positive, and then there were some negatives too. So I don't know what the breakdown is, and that's kind of what I'm going to report on Dale probably next month or April or May. I can't remember what we decided, but it'll be interesting to see how this thing goes because they need 60 votes, right? And, if you have 16 people gone, getting 60 is a lot harder, isn't it? So
it kind of defeats the purpose of the filibuster too, because the Senate, a filibuster is supposed to be a debate. If you don't even have to be there, I think some of the logic for setting up a filibuster and debate was, okay, we're going to wear you out. You're going to fight and fight and fight, and we're going to get to the vote. And then I disagree with the idea that you can vote on other things during the filibuster, which the Senate sometimes does. I think during the filibuster, there should be one item, and that's what you debate, and until you get to a point where you are forced to take a vote. I don't like the idea. What do they call it when you can have a filibuster and then they'll vote on something else at the same time? That's relatively new, and I don't like it. It kind of, if you don't even have to be there and then you can vote on other things, the filibuster, it needs to be strengthened, and I think John needs to step up a little bit as far as that goes.
Yeah. So convention of states is a great answer for that. You know, like Mel was saying, we can have term limits. We can, you know, if you're not going to be there to do your job, then we're going to vote you out. So
Yeah.
Well, it's the same. It's the same with an omnibus bill. I mean,
Right.
I think we need to get rid of these bills that pack so many things into 1,000 and 1,200 pages that people don't even have a chance to read, and it gets
Right.
passed and nobody knows what was in it. We need to get back down to, you know, a single issue, you know, bill writing is what I think another thing we could hopefully do with Convention of States.
And there
Right.
should also be enough time for the congressmen and senators to read the entirety of the bill.
mhm.
Because that's the other thing. If they present a bill at 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night and then say, we're going to vote on it tomorrow, there's no way that
No,
they could really study what is in that bill.
it's not really serving the people. It's serving
No, it
themselves. Is
isn't.
what it is.
The goal is deception, and whenever that's the goal, you're in trouble already.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I can
I
hear you
think we all
much
agree
better,
on that.
Mel, but just by the way.
I'm sorry, Cordell, what did you say?
What?
I say I can hear you much better. So whatever you did resolve the problem. And
Yeah.
I want to say that I really support the Cuban people. I've been to Dominican Republic and Haiti, and of course that's not Cuba, but both beautiful island states. And I think Cuba could have. I'd love to see them as the 51st state and go ahead and put all that beachfront property in there. I'd love it. So
Now, that is one thing that my left-leaning Cuban friends did not want to see.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah. They basically, they much prefer more a situation like Puerto Rico
mhm.
rather than being a state.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Interesting.
Which I found it interesting that they're saying they want the U.S. government to intervene, and at the same time, they don't want Trump to intervene. So,
Huh.
That's politics today. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. All right,
but
Debbie.
I can remember the time when Cuba was great, and there was a lot of American businesses that were in Cuba. I'm that old, and yes, where we were much better off when we had tourism around the country. Yeah, it was. So definitely, we need the United States to go back. I think it benefits everyone. I think it'll benefit Venezuela. I think it'll benefit Iran. And it will benefit Cuba.
Mhm.
So, and we need to get Russia out of there. So,
Yeah.
That is kind of the difficult thing is if when American and tourist dollars are going into Cuba, Cuba thrives.
yes.
And if they remain a communist nation with the current regime, then you know, of course, if you go back to the Kennedy administration, they were so friendly with the communist nations that it became, you know, dangerous or appeared to be dangerous for
Yeah.
the state. So it's a complex issue for sure.
Well, it's a matter. My belief, it's a matter of national security, which
Yeah.
I think is something that Trump is trying very hard to address. Thank goodness.
I've always wanted to go to Cuba. I always wanted to go to Russia and was able to do that, but I'd love to go to Cuba. Now, when a Cuban makes it to the United States, they're granted, they automatically get U.S. citizenship. Is that correct?
No, it isn't.
I know that used to, at one point, that was a part of the law that if you made it here, maybe not citizenship, but automatic,
A green card?
Yeah, something like
Okay.
that. And that's why I'm asking, because I don't know. And then at some point there were one of the administration, I think during the Obama administration,
Mhm.
fought and changed that in part because a lot of Cubans were taken tremendous risk, and people were drowning and dying trying to get to the United States. And so he
Yeah.
changed that rule.
When my family came, I waited 10 years to become a U.S. citizen. I had to take the citizenship test, and I could have gone under my parents because I was under 18, and I could have taken citizenship with them as my brother did, but I chose to do it on my own. And so at the age of 19, I became a naturalized citizen.
So just a few years ago.
It was like yesterday.
Very good, Cordell. Very good. That's a good one. Very good. Debbie, were you finished?
Yeah, that's really it. That's all I have.
All right. Yeah, I want you to. We got to pick a date in April for you to do that presentation on the different voter laws amongst the states. So
I just wanted to say one thing, that even though Indiana supposedly has where you do need ID, because I've worked the polls many times on either primary or the general elections, but you're not allowed to ask someone if they're a citizen. So if they manage to get a driver's license and that's the ID that they present, you can't question if they're a citizen or not in the
but
state.
isn't there a marking on the driver's license that identifies them as a citizen or non-citizen?
With the new IDs,
yeah,
right? If you wanted to travel and if you got one of the, I already forget what it's called, but
the STAR card.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
The STAR card.
Yeah,
STAR
the
card.
STAR card. Yes, I needed to prove citizenship. And according to the Democrats, that should have been almost impossible for me as a married woman. And yet I managed to show up with my passport and with my marriage license and my social security number and everything that I needed to do to get the STAR ID. So
Okay.
it can be done.
It can be done. All right.
Yes.
It's also the weakest argument I've ever seen a whole party
it's
hang on to.
pathetic.
Such a weak.
It's just-
Such a weak.
It's
Yeah.
so clear. It's so clear as to
Yeah.
what they're trying to do here.
Well,
Yeah.
I think fear is the most powerful motivator there is. And it's powerful because you can pivot from one thing to the next. As long as fear is working, then you run with whatever that topic is. But as soon as that wears out, you move to the next item that generates fear. And
That's a good point. That's a good point, Cordell. Very good.
and it
I
doesn't
think-
mean logic,
I think-
explanation, anything.
I think with all the modern technology we have, I think we'd all agree that one of the biggest problems we have is our mainstream media. And I would appreciate a technology that whenever they get on there and told a big old whopper, that a big old X would show up on the screen, and then everybody know, this is another flopper coming out.
Yeah.
I think it would help us all.
It's a tough thing too. That's one of the reasons that Elon Musk wanted to take over X now is because he didn't want somebody being the final arbitrator of what is and is not truth.
Right.
And in our legislature here, in my COS position, we're working very hard trying to get it passed here. But looking into that, you don't have to tell the truth. There's no law in any of the debate rules anywhere that you have to be honest. And that it goes back to that same reason. Who's the final arbiter of what is and isn't true?
Yeah.
Which makes it tough.
All right. We got to move on. Ken? Oh, we
I'll
got
try
about
and keep-
5 minutes left.
Yeah, I'll try and keep this short so you can get your segment in there, Dale. Again, talking about technology, that happens to be my concern tonight, or at least something that I focused on really late this afternoon, was a headline that I read that said AI safety researcher resigns with world is in peril warning. I'll try and give this a concise analysis, but basically a gentleman named Mayank Sharma he joined a large language model developer called Anthropic back in 2023. And he recently announced his departure to his colleagues and posted on X that, and he was the leader of a team that researches AI safeguards. And that caught my eye. What safeguards of AI? Well, gee, we've been talking about some of this stuff for a while now. And in his letter, and pardon me, I have to read some of this. He said in his letter, Sharma said he had achieved what he wanted to, citing contributions such as in investigating why generative AI models prioritize flattering users over providing accurate information, developing defenses to prevent terrorists from using AI to design biological weapons, and trying to understand how AI assistants could make people less human. Just that paragraph alone was startling to me. The fact that AI would be able to obviously help in the development of biological weapons, and part of the other thing he was talking about was basically that the AI was assisting terrorists. So the safeguarding of AI is something that I know, people have batted around. It's been a regular tennis game with, how do we do this? And most people are just, obviously, kind of taken back in awe of some of the things that AI does. And true, I mean, I think we all use it, and there are its benefits. But I guess my concern at this point is, and obviously this is somebody who knows a whole lot more than I do and actually was involved, is seeing the corruption that AI can cause. So that's alarming. That's alarming. And whether our government could actually, put in some kind of guardrails, I don't know. But maybe that's another whole convention of states, or we can add a fourth amendment on. I don't know. What's everybody think?
That's a tough thing too, because when you talk about safeguards, it's again, who's the final arbiter of that? And I'll give you an example. You can go into ChatGPT and ask it a bunch of questions, but it has a ton of safeguards. And for example, if you took a picture of me and you put it on there and you ask, is this a man or a woman? It will not tell you. It won't tell you. And I was trying to, I saw somebody, I couldn't tell, is this a movie star or not? And so I asked, is this a famous movie star? And it wouldn't answer. And then I kept trying to drill down. And so I was asking it, why was it being evasive? And it said that it's trying to be sensitive, and it didn't want to be provocative or cause problems with people. So I kept asking more and more specific questions. Is this a man or a woman? Is this white or a black person? It won't tell you any of those things, just because that's a safeguard that is designed into ChatGPT. And of course, you can ask it, why won't you tell me? And you can ask it a bunch of things. It'll tell you what its safeguards are in a given issue. And it's
I haven't run into that yet, and I'm using ChatGPT more and more, quite honestly. But I haven't run into that yet. I guess maybe I'm just not asking the right things, or.
I'll email you. I went down this whole rabbit hole. I'll email you a whole bunch of questions that it won't answer, and it'll drive you crazy.
That's okay.
And then
I've had instances where if it deems it to be political to a certain degree of one point, it won't let you ask the question. And this particular gentleman's involvement with Anthropic, I think was the name of it, was basically involved with Claude, which is a rather newer, generation of AI that's very popular. But again, it goes. My concern again went back to where it said in the article here. It said that why he wanted to know why generative AI models prioritize flattering users over providing accurate information. So if you're flattering, maybe you're going to get the answer. I don't know. It's kind of curious. I mean, it's almost like, the good-looking woman that comes up to the man and flatters him. He just falls all over himself.
Well, there are a lot of times you'll ask it a question and say, hey, that's a great question, or that's a great follow-up question. It's always kind of buttering you up.
Oh, I'm telling you, I had a conversation with my granddaughters, two of my granddaughters over the weekend that are students at IU, Indiana University. And they used AI a great deal, and they're very, very much into it and everything. And they kept telling me, Grandpa, their AI is not a real person.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, that's not a real person talking to you.
No.
And you got to understand that. And I told him, well, it's got me fooled. I'll tell you.
No, it isn't.
I've talked to ChatGPT about convention of states. I do a lot of stuff about convention of states through ChatGPT. Well, here just recently, I posed. I can't even remember what the topic was, but it was totally unrelated to COS that I was asking ChatGPT about, and it it came back to me. It answered my questions, and it said, "Oh, by the way, this would be a good presentation for convention of states."
Oh my goodness.
And I thought, what? And I mean, it just, and you know, and it said, like you said, Cordell, in a cordial way, you know, a very supportive way. Yes, you know, this would fit very much into your beliefs in convention of states, something similar to that, you know, and you should consider this as maybe a potential presentation to be made. So.
It's interesting too. Ken used the word model. So ChatGPT, it's out searching the internet for information to give you answers quickly, but it is also told certain places, don't look. We don't want you to consider any information here, and it prioritizes Wikipedia as a source, for example. So I frequently talk to it and say I don't want any answers from Wikipedia, just because I find it to be left leaning, and it'll modify itself. But every time I go in, I have to remind it that.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. And then the word model is interesting too, because there are many models. For example, if you have enough money, you can go into ChatGPT and you can rent a portion of ChatGPT, and you could call it, you know, Ken Adell's AI or whatever, and you could tell it what information you wanted it to look at. You could draw the parameters, and if anybody used your AI, if you weren't being transparent about it, you can persuade them to your method or your line of thinking, because it's only looking certain places and it's only given certain responses, and it's given certain, you know, parameters to work on. So AI, it's a wild west, and if you do kind of have to try and understand what's going on with it.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Ken, I wanted to ask you about this because you mentioned Anthropic, and I thought I recently read an article where the Defense Department is looking to use AI.
Yes.
And Anthropic was one of the companies that they were considering. And I know that there was an issue with another one because they said that the model that they wanted to use for AI, they wanted to have, that is, the company wanted to have certain amount of control over what the Defense Department was able to build with using AI.
Yeah.
And I thought I read that they decided to go with Anthropic because Anthropic was being much more amenable to the demands of the Defense Department for their use of building things with the use of AI, building weapons.
I did read that article. I forget who the other company was, but yeah, they ended up with Anthropic, and so I find it interesting that this article came about with this gentleman who obviously was, you know, was very much involved in it and said, "I'm done. I'm out of here," and so it'd be interesting to see what happens.
To me, the issue with AI is that right now we have no regulations. We have no, you know, everybody can kind of do their own thing with AI. We have so many different versions. We don't have laws in place or regulations that say you have to stay within these parameters in order to secure the United States and the people of the United States. Of course, we're going to have other countries using it for their own purposes and using it however they wish, and that's a problem.
That was
I
my
think-
next question too, was to say, Well, if we're using it for Department of Homeland Security, what keeps China from going, hey, what's the United
Well,
States
they
doing
are.
with the
I'm sure they
DHS?
already are. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And that's the other reason why Trump is so hot on beating China in the AI war, because it is another war that we're actually involved in.
All right, folks, we're way over time here. I need to bring you all back again because we got some interesting things that we haven't gotten to yet here, I think. And so hopefully you'll all be open to coming back on another In Focus segment in the near future. So Melba, Cordell, Debbie, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
bye.
All right, Ken, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Too bad on Melba's audio there.
I think it had something to do with her that other who said the other device had not connected. It seems like there was two competing channels. So yeah, we should have had her go out and come back in sooner.
We'll get with her and see if we can bring her back again.
Yeah.
And let her go through that again, because
Yep.
I think she had some very interesting things to say. All right, Ken, let's move on here. And I wanted to jump right into the next segment here. And that segment is Meet the Founders segment. This is where Larry Hudson has been talking about doing presentations on various founders. And he's working on Sam Adams now.
Yeah.
We've done the first part and caught up with him. This has been a couple weeks ago. I sat down and we recorded part 2 with Sam Adams. And we're going to be doing part 3 here probably in the next few days. But tonight, I want to play the recording of Sam Adams part 2 with Larry Hudson. So let's get right into it, Ken.
All right.
Yep. Greetings, everyone. Dale Parrish, host COS today. We're back for part 2 of our Meet the Founders series on Sam Adams with Larry Hudson. So let me bring Larry on right now and we will get started on this. Hi, Larry.
Dale, how are you?
Good. Larry and I have been having a few technical problems this evening, but I think we've got it straightened out.
You got it whipped.
We'll go with it anyway. All right.
It looks good so far.
So anyway, if I recall right, we finished up with Adams emerging as a political leader and merged with what was called the Popular Party at the time, and later known as the Whigs. But he also became part of the Sons of Liberty. Now that rings a bell, because I think you implied that Adams was responsible for expanding it into a larger group of anti-British patriots. Am I right?
That's correct. You are exactly right.
Okay.
Actually, he set up a massive, what turned out to be a massive underground network, secret, if you will, in several of the surrounding colonies. And the membership was made up largely of what we would call working class men, artisans, merchants, tradesmen, and they often joined in conducting street protests, boycotts. They even committed acts of intimidation to support the aims of this popular party, and then ultimately to support the patriot cause.
All right. It kind of sounds like Minnesota in a way, but we won't go there.
That's what I was thinking.
But and of course, one has to associate Sam Adams with the Sons of Liberty, but also with the Boston Tea Party.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us, that truly is a historical period in time. So, am I wrong in thinking this was the only action that Adams took in leading up to the war?
No, not really. Adams was very active on lots of fronts, behind the scenes more so than actively participating. So he was the first one who became recognized in the British Parliament when he publicly he opposed. We're going back here now, I think about 10 years before the Declaration of Independence. We're going to go all the way back to the Sugar Act, and I think that was 1764, which placed a tax on molasses. It was actually considered the first step of the growing tensions between the colonies and the mother country. And it was here that he started writing these essays that touted what he considered to be a moral argument against taxation. In fact, he wound up using, I've read, were as many as 40 pseudonyms to be to avoid being, found out as the author of these pieces that were written.
Really?
He fought strenuously against the Stamp Act, which was imposed, I think, a year later. It put a duty on most every piece of paper in the colonies. I think we all have read about the Stamp Act. Right. All legal documents, magazines, I think newspapers, playing cards, and it had to be paid. I didn't know this until just recently when I was reading. It had to be paid in British currency. It couldn't be paid in colonial paper money, and it carried the death penalty, Dale, for those who counterfeited really the stamp. And it was followed, I think, by the Townshend Act of 64, which imposed a set of duties on basically all imported goods that included a wide range of products. Tea, I guess, was probably the main one. And all of these acts that imposed duties had to be paid on imports. That, along with the Boston Massacre, which took place a bit later, I think in 1770, brought things to a fever pitch in Boston and spread quickly throughout the surrounding area, thanks to Sam Adams. He pressed aggressively in his writings against all of these taxing acts that had and worked hard to wring as much out of them as he could, and especially out of the bloodshed that occurred in that riot. In fact, he's even given credit for naming that conflict the Boston Massacre. Emphasis on the word massacre.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, still, obviously, he was involved in this quite some time. But I still, what could be more famous than the Boston Tea Party, though, as far as history is concerned? So, tell us, how was Adams involved in that?
Well, as you might guess, it stemmed from a duty. Right. This time the duty was on tea. It was really over the right to be taxed at all. Tea just happened to be, the convenient object. He considered what was essentially a tariff, which I thought was kind of coincidental, what we're going through today with our president. He considered a tariff on tea to be a direct tax, and continued to invoke the real familiar no taxation without representation, that argument against the Parliament in his speeches and his writings.
Yeah. Well, I think most of us were taught that in school, no taxation without representation. That was something we were, I think everybody was taught at some point in time. And I guess that was the rallying, I'm not saying it right, rallying cry that led up to the Revolutionary War. But why was that such a sticking point for the colonies?
Well, on the one hand, the Brits had spent a great deal of money fighting the French and Indian War. We talked about that earlier with Washington. And it, of course, occurred right here in our country in the Ohio Valley. And they were protecting the colonies, they felt, from Indians and quite possibly French occupation. So Parliament thought it only natural, that we on the receiving end of all that help should pay for that, the expenses, through revenue. And so in a nutshell, they were strapped for cash. They needed more money. And we, on the other hand, we didn't entirely disagree. We had fought alongside the British. We paid for our own war effort, actually, and it cost a goodly number of lives, in that effort as well. But more importantly was the fact that we had no say in the matter, as we had no one physically present in Parliament where the taxes originated or the import duties. So as far as we were concerned, without some sort of representation in the Parliament, that body simply couldn't impose taxes on the colonies without violating our rights as Englishmen. He made a moral argument there. We considered ourselves at this point in time, Dale, Englishmen. We were still Englishmen, just removed from the country. Okay. And all the taxes that could be imposed by our own representatives here at home would be tolerated. And so this was, this rash of duties on sugar, stamps, paper products, and all those sorts of things. And now tea was just a bridge too far, so to speak. So taxation without representation became a rallying cry.
Well, let's go back to the tax on a tea then, and the confrontation that led up to the Boston Tea Party. How did that come about, and what was Adams' role in it?
Well, as luck would have it, soon word arrived in Boston that a number of ships had departed England with tea on board, destined for several ports on the East Coast. Boston just one among them. And Adams knew that there would be a duty on that tea. So he decided that he had enough popular support, certainly in Massachusetts, to make a stand against this tax there in Boston, in the harbor, and that some sort of resistance had to be taken. So he gathered members of the Sons of Liberty, which we touched on previously, and together they decided how they might accomplish this resistance. What shape would it take? And the governor, Hutchinson, who was, of course, appointed by the Crown, he was determined to welcome the tea when it arrived and collect that duty, regardless of how popular it had become with the public. So. And it was widely known, I thought, importantly. I didn't know this until I read an article here within the last week. Hutchinson had two sons, and he had appointed both of those as East India Company tea agents. And so they stood to make a good deal of money on the tea. And this was widely known. So Adams soon learned that there were 3 ships, actually, carrying East India tea that were coming to Boston. And his initial plan was just to get those ships to turn around and return to England with the tea on board. And in due course, as it would turn out, the Dartmouth, which was the first ship to reach our shores, sailed into the harbor with 114 chests of tea on board. And a deadline then was set in motion for a confrontation.
Wow. I didn't. This is stuff I never heard before. This is interesting. Well, what do you mean by a deadline was set? Why? What was a deadline, and who set it?
Well, it was set by the British. They required a merchant ship. I don't know. British Admiralty, I suppose, required that a merchant ship had to be offloaded within 20 days of its arrival in any port in America, or customs officials in that colony could confiscate the cargo. So that meant that Adams was now faced with a deadline of 20 days in which he and his cohorts had to come up with a plan to refuse this tea. He had also reasoned somewhere along the line maybe in consult with the folks on in the Sons of Liberty, that if the tea couldn't be unloaded, then they couldn't collect a duty or the tax on it. So his idea was to prevent the tea from being unloaded in some fashion, or have the tea returned so before it was unloaded. So if the ship's captain or the owner couldn't be convinced to return without offloading the merchandise, then it would have to be prevented in some other way. So when the Dartmouth landed, it was also learned that 2 other ships were just days away with more tea on board. And apparently, they tried to bribe the ship's captain to set sail and return to London without unloading, but he refused. But he did agree to delay the unloading of the cargo until the end of the 20-day period, giving Adams some time.
Huh. So why would the ship's captain not agree to return without offloading, but agree to delay offloading?
Well, as luck would have it, I don't know how many merchants were mixed. That is, were American versus British. This merchant ship, the owner and the operator actually was from New Jersey. He was an American, so yeah, and he was sympathetic to the American cause, or the patriot cause at that point in time. He had other cargo on board that needed to be in Boston, so he just couldn't turn around, he said, without offloading it. But he promised Adams he'd delay the offloading and give him time to come up with another plan. So, and soon those 2 other ships carrying tea arrived in the harbor. So now there were 3 ships, each had 20-day limits as to when they could be offloaded. It's not clear when the plans were hatched, but on the very last day of the Dartmouth's deadline to unload her cargo, Adams called for a public meeting that night, and a huge crowd. It was estimated to be over 1,000 people collected or gathered outside the old meeting house. And after receiving a report that Hutchinson, the governor, had moved some soldiers from the docks to the fort on Castle Island in the Boston Harbor, and that was designed to prohibit any ships from departing, Adams reportedly stood up and announced to the gathering, so all could hear, this meeting can do nothing further to save the country. And according to several historians, I guess, that statement was a prearranged signal for the Tea Party to begin. So what ensued was a large exodus of people out of the meeting house, and it was followed almost immediately by the boarding of those 3 ships by a horde of men. There were over 100 in number, some of whom were disguised as Indians, as it turned out, and they set about tossing tea chests overboard into the bay, breaking them open in some cases. And in a matter of a few hours, they had swarmed aboard these 3 vessels and dumped over 300 chests of tea, 342 chests of tea into the Boston Harbor.
Okay, so Adams gives the signal and everybody runs out, boards the ships, dumps the tea into the bay. Didn't they catch anybody? I mean, why wasn't Adams held responsible after the fact? He's the one that called the meeting that night.
Yeah, well, yeah, no one was captured or hurt during the operation. The troops on Castle Island, they were too far away to see or hear what was taking place on the ships. And the planners, the presumed planners of the event, the Adams, Hancock was there, Warren was there. They all stayed in the meeting house with others where they could be readily seen and have an alibi. I guess I should point out that not everybody agrees. There are some historians, few in number, that refute the idea that Adams was the man behind the Tea Party, or at least there's no proof that he was the man behind the Tea Party, because there's no written documentation, no written plan, no operational directive, if you will, that survives. And there's no evidence. It is a fact that Adams, took this opportunity. He set about publicizing the act and defending it verbally and publicly in writing. And he argued that it was a raid and not a lawless mob. But instead, according to Adams, it was a principled protest with no damage being done to the ships. It was the only remaining option the people had to defend their constitutional right not to be taxed.
Okay. Well, you've said this was a turning point in the run up to the war with Great Britain. So do you still maintain that? I mean, was this in fact a turning point?
Oh yeah, I think most historians agree that it was. In Great Britain, even those politicians who were, somewhat sympathetic, and there were a number of them toward the colonies, they were apparently appalled. It was an outrageous thing to do. Seemed to unite all the parties there in England against the unrest, the building unrest in the colonies. The prime minister, a gent named North, Lord North, he's reported to have said, let's see here, Sam Adams and the other principal incendiaries need to be brought to England, tried, and if found guilty, put to death. America must lie prostrate at its feet. They must fear you before they will love you.
Wow.
Yeah, the government just felt this action couldn't go unpunished. So, as you might suspect, they responded by putting in place a set of laws called the Coercive Acts. There were several distinct edicts, I guess you could say, that were directed. They included one, disobedience to the Port Act in Boston. They closed the port of Boston, actually. They revoked the Massachusetts Charter, thereby allowing the government, I think, Parliament, or the king himself to appoint nearly all public officials in the colony. And they authorized a real irritant, which was the quartering of soldiers in public spaces whenever deemed appropriate. Those were just a few things that they did. The colonists, of course, viewed what they call them the Intolerable Acts. They viewed them as a violation of their constitutional rights as Englishmen, and what they considered their natural rights as human beings, and also the charters that existed that they got from the crown years and years prior to this point in time. So it was beginning to become very clear that reconciliation between the two was nigh impossible. War was becoming inevitable.
Okay, Larry, our time's up, and I think maybe this might be a good place to pause until the next time. It appears that the die's been set here. No shots been fired yet, but so I think it's. Why don't we pick it up here next time, and you tell us where Adams is headed for now and what's going to happen next? Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. Dale, we'll pick it up where we left off here tonight, and that'll be, I think, getting the Tea Party behind us and looking toward the First Continental Congress and some other activities.
Okay. Well, it looks like we're headed for war here, huh?
Yeah. It's still a couple of years away, but
yeah. All right. Larry, once again, thank you very much. Very, very informative. Thank you very much.
Enjoyed it, Dale. We'll look to see you again soon.
All righty. Well, hope you enjoy that. Another good segment from Larry Hudson on Sam Adams, and there's going to be more to come. So stay tuned, and we'll get to you with part 3 coming up very soon. Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone. Well, I tell you, Larry amazes me how much he's been able to research these.
He's a qualified researcher for sure.
He is.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're just looking for a date to get together again now and record part 3. So it goes on and on.
On and on. Hey, just a quick note.
Yeah.
A little follow up on our previous segment, or 2 previous segments ago now, talking about boots on the ground. I just got a notice that came across that says Trump is deploying 4,500 Marines to take Iran's main oil island.
Really? Is that the that island where they?
I believe. Yeah, I believe that's the name of the island. Yeah. So.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we'll see. Just a news alert on our coming live on our program here.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So.
Now I heard a guy talk about these Marines. These are not, if I understand this correctly, these are not the type of Marines like that invaded in Iraq and that went in to take over the government. These
right.
are these. The way he described it, these, of course, they're on these ships,
right.
or a ship or ships, and they dispersed these Marines. The way he described it, they could leave the ship and do an exercise or do a whatever their a job or something, and return to the ship and eat dinner and take a shower and go to bed.
Yeah.
So it's they're not intended to be an invasive
force, right?
Invasion force. Now, and that sounds to me like what would be used for this island, to take over this island. So
yeah, but there was an additional warning that followed that announcement. The fact that, and I don't have it up anymore, but the warning that was going out was that Iran is expecting that and had some kind of trickery or some kind of surprise waiting for that type of activity. So of course, our guys are well trained and everything, but yeah, it just sets up a little bit more concern, I think.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh boy. All right.
Anyway, didn't mean to derail you, but I wanted to get that coming across because we were talking about it. So to me, it kind of fit.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, let's, John Ackerman has sent us another soapbox piece. And before we get into the next segment, which is another one of our region reports from another of our Convention of States regional directors. But let's play the soapbox piece that John just sent us. Pretty short, but it's on voter ID, as a matter of fact, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
John Ackerman for Convention of States. I want to talk to you about photo IDs for voting. I live in Indiana, and since 2005, Indiana has required a photo ID to vote. This was challenged, of course, in the Supreme Court, which upheld it in 2008. And so for almost 20 years, every voter in the state of Indiana has been required to submit a photo ID in order to vote. Democrats in the United States Congress, particularly the Senate, are opposed to photo ID for voting. They say it's racist or discriminatory against women or things like that, as if people of color aren't smart enough to get a photo ID or women aren't smart enough to change their name on their driver's license or whatever. Their arguments are specious. For almost 20 years, I don't think any person of color or female in the state of Indiana has been denied the right to vote. They're smart enough to navigate the system. After all, they can pay taxes and they can shop for groceries and they can do everything that anybody can do in the United States, include get a photo ID. Okay, so just a short checklist of what does require a photo ID in the United States of America. If you ever buy alcohol or tobacco, you must have that. If you drive an automobile on the streets of America, you must have a photo ID. If you open a bank account, if you check into a hotel, if you apply for government services, including benefits or permits or interacting with agencies, you need a photo ID. If you show up in court, if you notarize a document, if you sign legal paperwork, if you buy firearms, if you purchase certain medications at the direction of your physician, you need a photo ID. The list goes on and on. It's longer than my arm. And so those who claim that a photo ID is unobtainable or racist or misogynistic don't know what they're talking about. Pass the Save America Act now.
It's going.
Right up our alley tonight. That's for sure.
Yeah, right on. Man, could have played that during the In Focus segment.
That's true.
When Debbie was talking, but very good. Thanks, John, for sending those to us. You know, I mentioned this to John a few weeks ago about, hey, John, why don't you send us one of these little short videos every week? And I just suggested that to him, and he said, bingo. He said, I'd be glad to do that. So he hasn't missed a week since. And
he really enjoys doing them, I think, and that shows.
I think he does. Yeah. And I hope he doesn't run out of topics to talk about.
Oh, it's kind of like the news. I don't think he'll ever run out of a topic.
Well, I got another region report here that I've recorded. This is with our regional director, Grant Martin. Mm-hmm. And Grant is the regional director for a region called the Cool Kids. He's interesting how he came up with that name, Cool Kids. So anyway, I caught up with him the other day, and we recorded a report on how his region is doing and where the region is located and so forth and so on. So let's just jump right into that, Ken.
Sounds good.
Then we'll be back and close up for this evening, okay?
Yep.
Greetings, everyone. We're ready for another one of our regional reports for Convention of States. And I want to bring on right now an old friend of mine by the name of Grant Martin. So let's bring Grant on and let's see what he has to say. Hi, Grant. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing great. Great to be here with you, Dale, you and your audience, and congratulations to you and your team for what you're doing here. This is so awesome. The growth that you're having, we're just so proud of you. Thanks for what you do, my friend.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate that. Well, Grant, we want to learn about your region. By the way, how long you been in Convention of States? I think maybe you've been in longer than I have.
Well, I've been. I started out 10 years ago as a volunteer, and I've been on staff for 8 years. So,
all right.
And, I'm blessed to be in this organization. There's no doubt about that. If I come from the aviation industry, and if somebody told me I'd become a political activist 11 years ago, I'd have told them they probably needed to go to rehab.
I know what you mean. Did you come up through the ranks like a district captain and or some other capacity?
Yes, I started out, kind of I'll make a long story a little short. I applied to be a volunteer, and it was after about a year debating on it. My now deceased wife was the one that actually sent me a Facebook post on Convention Estates. I was looking at it. My first grandchild was already born, and then I had an assignment that went over to Israel for 8 months, 8 months. And my second grandchild was born during that time. And I was thinking to myself, well, I got to do something when I come back. I applied. So ultimately, Jenny Rapini is the first one. If you know Jenny, she's the first one that reached out to me. Started out as a district captain, became a state director, then the assistant regional director. And for some reason, they decided to put me on staff. So
that's so many of us have followed that path in Convention Estates. So just kind of the way it goes. So, all right, Grant. Let's first off, what's the name of your region?
Well, it's the Cool Kids region, and the story behind that was during our first summit, we didn't have names for the region. It was named after the regional director. We're at the summit and we're getting ready to go up on the stage. And they said, well, you found out right before going up the stage, you give us the name of your region. And I wasn't going to get up there and call it the Martin region. So that's just kind of what came out of my mouth at the time. So we've been the Cool Kids region ever since.
The Cool Kids. Is that what you're saying?
Cool Kids, yes. KOOL.
Oh, KOO. Oh, the Cool Kids. Okay.
Yeah, Cool Kids.
Cool Kids region. That's cool. All right. What states are involved in your region?
So I have Kentucky, the Carolinas, and the Virginias. So 5 states.
Kentucky, Carolina, and the Virginias. Okay. Yeah, nothing going on in any of those states.
No, it's like everything right now. Everything's status quo and nice and peaceful.
Oh yeah, right. we all joke about that from time to time. Nothing going on right now.
No. At least we're not having any conflicts or politics, or everything's nice and normal. Everybody gets along. No division in this country. So all is well.
One of the persons on my comms team here is David Punt. I don't know if you've met him, but he just became the state director for Minnesota. And every time we see him, we say, well, David, nothing going on in your state, is there?
That's right.
And we all get a pretty big laugh out of that. So yes, there's a lot going on, folks. We understand that. But
the beauty of that, is God put us here for just this time. So that's what's so amazing is yes, it can be frustrating, but also at the same token, what an amazing opportunity that we have. And thanks to all the people that watch us, that support Convention Estates, they're in the fight. Thank you, because it is tough out there. And
that's right.
This is our peaceful way to bring back some order.
We're trying to save the country, folks. That's what we're trying to do. All right. Okay, you named the states. How many states do you have that are past states as versus in play? And what I mean by that, for the sake of our viewers here, a past state would be a state that has passed the COS resolution calling for a convention of states. Indiana, where I'm based, is a past state, but we still have a number of states that are that have not passed the resolution, which we then refer to them as in play. So how does that mix work in your region?
Certainly. So South Carolina and West Virginia are the 2 past states, and then the other 3 are still in play.
Okay.
I was fortunate enough to be with Mississippi when they passed the resolution, and it used to be that when a state passed, they got moved over to a different region.
Right.
Boy, I tell you, it was tough. I mean, it was like they cut off my right arm. I've been talking to these guys every day, you know, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day leading up to passing the resolution, and then after it passed, they took my friends away from me. So my region's evolved a little bit. I used to have Colorado, and I had Ohio at one point. So my region has evolved.
Yeah. You had Colorado at one point.
Yes. My region had Colorado.
Yeah, nothing going on there either.
No. Everything's swimming there. So I have Virginia, and it is definitely a crazy town in Virginia.
Evidently so. Yes.
But we have amazing patriots that are in the fight in Virginia too. So that's.
Are any of your states that are in play? Are they close to any?
Well, North Carolina, they have 2-year sessions. We passed the House last year. We're on the second session. They come back into session April 21st. They typically get done. Well, they typically say that they're going to close up shop by July 4th, but they don't have a constitutional requirement as to when they actually shut down their sessions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of more of a suggestion. North Carolina's unique, and well, at least in my experience, you really don't know when the session is going to ever end, if it ever does. In fact, a lot of times they'll just keep it open until next session. So I say all that. We just have to pass in the Senate this session for North Carolina to become the 21st state.
Now we've been very close in the past with North Carolina, haven't we?
Yes. Yeah, we're close again. You know, we fight a battle there. You know, a very political battle of. Imagine this: a legislator saying one thing and then going behind closed doors and saying something else. So,
yeah.
And
I mean, when I say close, I mean like a vote or two. If it seems to me, has it been that close?
Well, what happens to us is we think that we have the whip count, and then they'll go in the caucus, and then there's some senators that, and we think we know who they are, but obviously, it's behind closed doors and it's kept secret.
Yeah,
they'll say, they'll give you this response of, I'll vote for it if it comes to the floor, and that they can say that because they know they're going to go behind closed doors and say, hey, please don't bring this to the floor.
Yeah,
because I don't want to vote on it. So we're comfortable. We haven't had in 2017 we passed in the Senate and then didn't pass in the House. Since then we've passed in the House and haven't been heard on the floor, or got, I guess, more appropriately get through committee in the Senate.
Why now? Kentucky's a pretty red state, isn't it? I mean,
yes, super duper majorities.
Huh?
Super duper majorities.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
I'll give you 2 words. Mitch McConnell.
Is that right? Really?
Yeah. There's definitely influence there, and obviously his influence is waning, but there's still. Yeah, he still has people in his that have been elevated. From his influence and all that. So,
well, folks, one of the pillars of our resolution is term limits, and I think that's there's a situation where term limits would apply. I think he is. I guess I don't know if he's cognizant at all anymore. Anyway, we digress there. So how many supporters would you say do you have in your region?
Well, we're just shy of 338,000 supporters, just shy of 318,000 petitions.
Okay. All right. Well, that's quite a few.
Yeah. The team's been working. They've been working hard for a number of years. There's no doubt. I mean, it's one of the things that I'm always blown away with the amazing grassroots that we have in this organization. People that the amount of time, talent, and treasure they put into this, it's unreal, and it's what an honor to be able to work with them side by side. Truly,
That is true. That is true. I don't know what are we? We're over 6 million now supporters nationwide, aren't we?
yeah, something like that. You know,
Something
we're
like that.
closing in on like 3 million, closing in on 3 million petition signers. So
Yeah. Well, it continues to grow, and that's what that's something I picked up on very early on in my experience with Convention of States. That you know, we have so many goals that we're trying to achieve and everything, but the main thing is growing that grassroots and creating that army of grassroots volunteers out there and supporters. That's really the crux of the whole thing. But anyway.
well, I mean, if you think about it, if we just, you know, and I remember when, you know, we kind of, the focus was primarily passing the resolution, and we, you know, to realize, you know, so, you know, if you just pass the resolution, everybody goes, wait, what have you accomplished? Right. So it's an important thing to understand. And what I really like too is that, you know, we're getting involved with things that are, you know, what we call F3 legislation, things that are aligned with us, but, you know, are not necessarily the resolution or 34 ready faithful delegate act stuff.
Right.
You know, these are things where we can remain impactful within the state and get common sense stuff done in the state while we're waiting to get to the convention.
That's right. That's right. I'll never forget when, as state director here in Indiana, as soon as we became a passed state, boy, the volunteer level dropped off in our state. We lost district captains. You know, everybody thought that, well, the job's done. You know, it's all over, but in fact, it's not, and it's just getting started, quite honestly. So. Anyway, I don't want to digress too much here, but that's a very important point, I believe,
Amen.
and that is the importance of growing the grassroots. Grant, how do you tell people how to join Convention of States and why to join Convention of States? I mean, do you have a particular message that you like to put out there?
I don't think I have a particular message. I like to, you know, ask questions of people, and then the conversation typically will lend itself to that. I mean, as far as it's really simple as to why. I mean, you know, particularly those of us that have kids and grandkids. Now I'm a great grandparent, so I'm really getting old, by the way, Dale. And I can't remember. Probably last time I saw you, I probably wasn't a great grandparent, but I am now.
Are you? Congratulations.
But I mean, it's for the future generations. I mean, yeah, we were blessed as to be born here, blessed to grow up here, and you know, for us to step away and let socialism that's taken root. I mean, there's so many things. It's like, really, I mean, we have a self-proclaimed socialist mayor in the city of New York. I would have never thought in my lifetime.
Right.
And if we think that it's just going to stop there, I mean, we're wrong. So if you care about the future of this nation, the future for your kids, your grandkids, great grandkids, posterity to come, you better get in the fight. And, you know, it's one of the things that we struggle with, because so many people are just kind of, you know, especially in the conservative realm, are just like, you know, just leave me alone. I'm going to go to my hills, and you just leave me alone. You do your thing, I'll do my thing. But you know, the problem with that is it doesn't stay that way.
Yeah.
You know, it's if you don't fight, if you don't stand up, you and your family are going to be impacted. So choice is, are you going to be a proactive part of that, and make sure that we maintain our liberties, or are you going to have your liberties slowly eroded from you?
Yeah, it's very true. Couldn't have said it better. Very good. Well, listen, Grant, we're winding down to our time limit here. tell me what are there specific volunteer needs that you're trying to fill in your region? I got a hunch you're probably like every other region director, but maybe you're different. I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, obviously we need people in the fight, and that's the beauty is there's so many different ways to be in the fight with this organization. Now, one of the things that I would strongly encourage people is to even if you just have the slightest amount of time, get involved with social media. You know, we have a national mission that goes on 5 days a week. It's simple. It's on Facebook and X, where you can respond, and we use that to develop a lot of responses to a particular post, and then let legislators see that, so the way they see engagement. But beyond that, each state team has a Facebook page. The national has a Facebook page. There's the national X page. Get on there, comment, post, share, like.
Right.
All those things help with the algorithm. And why is that so important? Because it is one of the best ways to get the word out about us. If you get things that go viral, and Dale, you and your team, you understand this probably better than most, because just putting this on and the battles that you fight with trying to get it publicized and all that.
Right.
I mean, it really is about engagement, and it's such a simple thing. I mean, you can do that 5 minutes a day. I mean, really, 5 minutes you can be part of something making a big contribution. Outside of that, I would encourage you become a volunteer on the team, on the state team. I remember this. I had a district captain in one of my states one time who was just always worried about, if we just had the message right from national, if we just had this commercial, we had this. You got to understand that this is a people business, and it's really one person at a time. And we went through this over and over. And finally, she said to me one time, "Oh, I met my neighboring district captain. We got together for lunch, and we just had a great time. Shared, we have shared values and all that kind of fun stuff." She was just going on about it. I remember saying to her, I said, "Then why would you deny somebody else that same opportunity?"
Mm-hmm.
So my point to that is, get involved with the team. You will be amazed. First off, you'll be truly invigorated, because even though we might have people around us that feel the same way, it's still so easy to feel isolated. People don't. You turn on the news. Most people, most things that you hear on the news don't align with our beliefs. So you kind of have this feeling that it's a much bigger swath out there that don't believe in liberties and our foundings. So if you get with somebody that you don't really know and develop a relationship and understand that there's a bigger network out there that are willing to fight just like you are, it is truly. I can speak for myself. I get a chance to go out to 5 states and there's nothing that invigorates me more than getting out there with the grassroots, because, you guys are awesome. That's why. That's the only way of saying it.
Well, we like to tell people, if you want to get involved in Convention of States, just go to our website, conventionofstates.com, and sign up, become and be a supporter. And if you would like to volunteer, click on that get involved selection and look at the different opportunities that we have for you to get involved. Grant, I'm sure you're always looking for district captains. Everybody seems to be looking for district captains. Seems to be a core position in our organization, right?
It is. Sorry, of course, naturally somebody knocks on the door right now, and the dog is. Yeah, so I apologize. But yes, I mean, district captain is what builds our local districts, and it gets involved with their legislator and the
I know,
building team.
Well, listen, let's go ahead and wrap it up here, and you can get to the door and take care of the. How do people get a hold of you, Grant, if they're interested?
So my email is gmartin@cosaction.com.
Okay, let me put this up here real quick here. G Martin at cosaction.com.
That's correct.
And let me see if I can get that up here. Get that to show to everyone, and we'll let people make note of that. This is how to contact you, gmartin at cosaction.com, and you'll get. I'm sure you have people just like other region directors. You have people in each state that it's their job to follow up with new volunteers, right? And people interested.
Certainly. And they're
All
good,
right.
good at it. They love to meet new people.
All right. Grant, thank you very much for sharing this and being with us tonight. And you better get to the front door and see who that is. All right.
Yeah, because they keep on knocking. So I appreciate you. It's good to be here with you, brother. And thanks to your audience.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you. Well, folks, that was Grant Martin from Region Director for the region called Cool Kids. So I enjoy talking with Grant. Always like doing these region reports because I think it's important for you to understand how we're organized and where you can, if you live in any of those states, how you can get involved. So that's it for this region report. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Yeah, I probably should have paused it a bit to take care of the dog, but
yeah, we all have those guard dog problems at times, and hopefully it wasn't the IRS or somebody knocking on his door.
Yeah, hopefully it wasn't, but who knows? Might have been ICE, huh? Might have been ICE.
Yeah, it might have been ICE. Who knows? No, hopefully it was the local Girl Scout selling cookies. And
all right, Ken. Now we got a new segment here, a new little piece from Marengo Mike.
Yeah.
He's done one before. It's called Laugh Liberty Lounge, and I'm still not clear as to what this is all about. And I have not seen this. So, folks, I have not seen this. This is created by Ken here. So.
Well, if you go by the title of his segment,
Yeah.
Laugh Liberty, okay, Lounge.
Yeah.
Basically, he's expressing his interest in the humorous side of our situation here in America, along with the liberty and the civil side of things, and so he kind of melds that all together. And I think what he's trying to do is not be so serious all the time. He wants to be able to make people look at some of the things that are going on, and sometimes the only thing you can do is laugh. So
I see.
I don't know what this one is about either. You'll have to try for yourself.
You don't know either, huh?
No, he didn't give me a clue what he was doing. So he said it was pretty relevant to what's happened recently in Convention of States. So that gave me an idea.
All right, let's see what he has to say here.
Marengo Mike here. We're coming to you from the Laugh Liberty Lounge, where we'll explore the absurd to the civil. Just made history as the 20th state to pass a Convention of States resolution, marking a major milestone for this grassroots movement. Under Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution, if 34 states apply, a convention can be called to propose amendments, like fiscal restraints or term limits on federal officials. Kansas overcame a tough legal hurdle with a federal court ruling that allowed a simple majority vote to move the resolution forward. This breakthrough has already inspired action in neighboring states, like South Dakota. Now, all eyes are on states like North Dakota and South Dakota to keep the momentum going. Stay tuned for more updates as this movement grows.
There you have
I
it.
tell you, that Maringo Mike, he has really evolved, hasn't he? That's very good, Ken. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, I think he got his point across.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
And
think it was good at follow the segment with Grant, because I think at this point there's a couple of states in his region that could use that advice and jump
Yeah.
on board with all those other states that hopefully are encouraged and will be moved along by what Kansas did. So
Yeah. Yeah. Let's hope so. Let's hope so. All right. All right. Well, Ken, I want to bring this point out now that let's start closing up here. But folks, if you want to find us on the internet, the easiest way to find us is to just search for our YouTube channel, American Patriots for Convention of States. So search for our YouTube channel, American Patriots for Convention of States, and there you'll find our live broadcast as well as all past broadcasts, as well as other information. So that's the best way to find us. Don't search on COS Today. Search on our YouTube channel, American Patriots for Convention of States. That's where you can find us. Now, if anyone has any questions or comments about tonight's broadcast, drop us an email at raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. I forgot to mention, Ken, you're going to put the link
already in there.
link to that YouTube channel. Okay.
Yep, it's already in there. Yeah.
All right. That's in the comment section or the chat.
That's it. That's in the chat.
In the private chat. Okay. All right.
Not the private chat. That's in the regular comment chat area. Yep.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Okay. Well, good, Ken. That is going to be a wrap for us tonight, I think. Are there any comments that we need to recognize or discuss?
Well, there were a few that were made towards our first segment. A couple that I'll go ahead and throw up here. Just that here's one that was based on what we were talking about with immigration. David Nally said citizens should take the citizenship test, which only makes sense. Those are some common sense arguments. So I think David was right on top with that one. Let's see if there was another one here. Let's see. Oh, he also mentioned that he felt that you should raise the penalty for minimum 5 years for federal prison for illegal voting. That might be that might keep a few people at home that day if they're not a citizen. So yeah. Just a few of those like that. I think most people, I think it's, what did they say lately? It's 85, 86 or 87% of the American people realize this is something that's really just common sense. And how many different places, as we, as John showed us, require an ID. I think at this point, this one party in our country has shown itself to be really pretty much having no argument at all to common sense issues that most Americans feel are just, common sense and have been done previous years without any complications.
Well, it's like one of the one representative I just saw speaking on the floor said, why do we need the SAVE Act or anything? It's illegal to vote if you're not a citizen of this country. It's illegal. So
it's the same thing about coming into the country unless you're trying to do it legally. I've had that. I've lost sleep over that, laying in bed saying, now wait a minute. There's a definition and I mean, go to the Webster's. Webster's will have the definition: illegal and legal. There's, we are a nation of laws, and I think we've lost so much sight of that. And it's
if all the laws were obeyed, we wouldn't need law enforcement, would we?
We wouldn't be here. I don't think we would need Convention of States either, Dale. I mean, that's really what it's come down to. Is that's why we're here fighting, because we've let the loonies run the asylum, and I don't know. There's enough Nurse Ratchets running around, I guess, that we have to be careful of everything we do.
All right. All right. Well, Ken, that's a wrap for tonight. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Hope you've enjoyed our broadcast this evening. We'll be back same time next Monday evening, and have more good content for you, I hope. So once again, Convention of States, where our purpose is to save the country through Convention of States. So good night, everyone. Have a good night. We'll let Marengo Mike close us out here, Ken.
All right. Good night.
Marengo Mike here with a reminder of the importance of this year as we continue to grow the grassroots army of volunteers and the mission of using the Constitution to fix the ills of our government. Use the QR code if you haven't signed the petition and